Hello, welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be talking about the top 5 books that I read in 2020. I know last year I did really bad in regards to filming and uploading, so as a mad dash of catching up, I'm going to be doing a top 5, this video, a bottom 5, and the top 10 graphic novels that I read in 2020. And that's because for the most part I did read graphic novels last year. Last year was too tough for me to really delve into deep, insightful books, so we just read graphic novels. But without further ado, let's actually get into this video. One of the first books that I read last year was The Bride Test by Helen Hoang. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. Now, our two main characters are Esme and Kai. This is a romance novel. Basically, the overall story is Kai, he's in the US, and he thinks because he has autism that he's somewhat broken and he won't be able to have a meaningful relationship. His mom thinks that's absolute gunk, and while she's on a trip to Vietnam, meets Esme and sees that Esme could be a great potential partner for Kai, and so she strikes up a deal with Esme. Basically, hey, come to the US, court my son, and if it works out, great. If not, you can just go home. And Esme has a child in Vietnam, and she's like, you know what, this could be a great opportunity for my child. And despite some trepidation, she decides to go through with it. I absolutely enjoyed the romance part of it. It was definitely that slow burn, two strangers getting to know each other, finding out what makes them tick, what their quirks are. I really enjoyed that aspect of it. And when, things finally got heated, they really got heated. Fun, easy read. I think the only thing I had an issue with was the conclusion of some of these characters at the end. I wasn't 100% satisfied, which is why I kind of rated this 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. Now, the next book on this list is The Witches Are Coming by Lindy West. Lindy West is a comedian that focuses her content on feminism and body positivity. Now, I really enjoyed Shrill, and so when I found out about this book, I was like, all right, loved Shrill, we're gonna have to pick this up. And very much like Shrill, this is a series of essays focusing on the current political climate, or at least what the political climate was in 2019 and 2020. Now that I'm reading my notes, it definitely had a focus on misogyny and the Me Too era. Basically, this is commentary on the people who were like, oh, Me Too, this is getting too out of hand. This is basically witch hunt against men. And this is her commentary and saying, yes, this is indeed a witch hunt and we are hunting you. Like in her previous work, I found Lindy to be really insightful, incredibly funny, and I found this to be powerful. I actually rated this a full 5 stars on Goodreads. Next book on my list is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. Now, I recognize that this book is on a lot of people's lists for the top books of the year, and I think it's well deserved. I thoroughly enjoyed this. I keep saying thoroughly. I want to try to think of other words to say, but I really did enjoy this. I've said before that I am a fan of V.E. Schwab. I love her work. I love her writing style. She has this really dark, gritty take on fantasy, and I think that's fun. I read for escapism, and it really does the trick for me. The overall story of this one is that in 1714, Addie, who is our main character, does not want to get married. But her parents are like, no, you're now too old, so this is what's happening right now. And the night before, I was going to say the night before her wedding, but the night of her wedding, she makes a deal with this, I want to say demon. The guy never really says what he is. He's basically a dark god, and she's basically told her entire life, never pray to the gods at night, at least especially not the ones who will answer at night. And as the sun is setting on her wedding night, she makes a deal. She prays I will give away everything and anything for this not to happen, to have my own life. And this dark god comes and he's like, all right, let's strike a deal. They make this deal, but in order to have her life exactly as she wants it, belonging to no one, the demon goes, all right, fine, you don't belong to anybody. So whenever she meets someone, they immediately forget about her. If they turn away and come back, they're like, oh, hi, nice to meet you. And the deal was she can live this way until she grows sick of it and she willingly gives up her soul. But she's angry that this guy tricked her into this part of the deal. So she's like, fine, I will never give up. I will never give up my soul in regards to this deal. So they play this cat and mouse for 300 years. In the modern day, she finally meets someone that does remember her, and she's intrigued by that. And then the story then follows on from there. At times, I did find myself getting a little frustrated because of how V. Schwab like wrote the book, it kept flipping back and forth to modern day and then to her backstory. And it did eventually get to a point where I had enough of her backstory that I just really wanted the story to continue. As much as that irked me, I did really enjoy the detail of her figuring out the tricks and the quirks of learning to live with this curse. I don't know how I feel about the ending. I'm not going to talk about it because I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't read it, but I honestly don't know how I feel about it. I suppose I would have preferred a more concrete ending, but for what the curse was, it works. I ended up rating this 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. The next book on my list is You Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson. Now, this story was a contemporary story. Liz is our main character, and she's in Indiana, and she realizes in order to go to college, she's going to need a scholarship. And it's to the point where in order to get this scholarship, she needs to run for homecoming queen or for court, because there is a scholarship associated with that. And if she wins it, she gets the money that she needs to go off to college. But she's a black woman in this very majority white town, and she's closeted, she's gay. So she has quite a few things working against her in this very conservative town. Right away, I wanted Liz to do well. I was really rooting for her. I really believed that this whole situation existed. It was very easy to fall into the story and suspend my disbelief. In fact, I was so invested in her goal of getting the scholarship that when things did go slightly awry, I got so angry for her, so infuriated for her. And throughout this whole process, she meets a girl and then she starts dating. So there's also that moment of, oh good, like that stress because she's closeted, but this new girl isn't. So yes, from start to finish, I absolutely rooted for this girl, and I rated this a full 5 stars on Goodreads. Now, this last book on my list is Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. I've read other stuff by her. I want to say with The Fire Set on High. Totally spacing on the actual title, but I loved that. I loved the detail that she got into in describing the food and the world of this character. That is, when I heard about this book, I was like, all right, that's her writing style of this exquisite detail, like going into exquisite detail. I want to read this book. And this book had an interesting format. It was written in kind of like this slam poetry way. I actually listened to this on audiobook, and it was very interesting hearing the 2 different takes. Now, the story follows these 2 sisters, and there was a narrator for each sister. Now, it was really interesting hearing the different choices the performers made. There was definitely 2 distinct styles in reciting this poetry, and you could hear it in these voices. Now, these 2 sisters actually didn't know about each other. Basically, the dad had a secret life. He had a life in New York and a life in the Dominican Republic. And every summer he would go and visit the daughter in the Dominican Republic. Now, it was him flying to the Dominican Republic, the plane crashed and he died. And in the process of planning for the funeral and everything, the sisters find out about each other. Now, it's through this dual narrative that we see how the sisters process love, grief, and forgiveness. I feel like telling the story through verse made it all the more powerful. I really felt for both sisters, and I really wanted to see them process their trauma and really move on from what was happening. I found myself really mad at the dad, really infuriated at the dad, and there was definitely that level of anger that I held throughout the majority of the book. Overall, great. I would recommend that you do listen to this on audiobook, and I rated this a full 5 stars on Goodreads. So those are all the books for today's list. Let me know down in the comments below if you agree with my choices or if you have different books on your top 5 of the year. Let me know your thoughts down below of these books. And as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I guess it's ta-ta for now. Bye guys!